Guys, you do not know how frustrating it was to try to set up today's A-roll for this video. My computer's fan just would not turn off. There wasn't a single program opened on my computer, and the fan is just running full blast for some reason. I'm sure that's some sort of Big Sur issue with Intel computers. I don't know what's going on, but I need to look into that. And then I was gonna shoot this A-roll on the Panasonic S5, maybe try out the ProRes RAW. Mic stuff just would not work on it. You know what? It'll all be figured out, it's fine. Today we're going to talk about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras, actually all the Blackmagic cameras that can shoot B-RAW, and how Davinci's kind of been hiding this little secret feature from us that will make your camera better. Okay, technically they're not hiding it from us, but it's something that not a lot of people online are talking about, and it's something that I want to address in this video. So a while ago, Blackmagic released Davinci Resolve 17 Beta. Now, I know a lot of people don't like to use beta software because it's not ready for the public, but I've been using the 17 beta for a little bit now. And there's a little feature in there that unlocks a lot of potential in your Blackmagic cameras that shoot B-RAW. Which first off, I think is really cool that Blackmagic does stuff like this. They add new features to their cameras, even after their cameras have been out for over a year or close to 2 years now. The Blackmagic Pocket 4K has been out for a while now. And I know I said in my Blackmagic Pocket 6K video that it's been out for 2 years, and it's not quite been out that long, but it does sure seem like that now that the Pocket 4K has been out so long, so I'm sorry for that mistake when I said that. But what I want to talk about today is the Blackmagic Gen 5 color science. Now, when you open up a B-RAW file in Davinci Resolve 17, it gives you the option to go in there under the clip settings and change from Gen 4 color science to Gen 5. Now what this does is it adds a different log curve, a different log profile to your footage. So something that's always interested me about the Blackmagic color science was that it's always been a little bit more contrasty and less flat than other log profiles that I'm used to working with. Now I just assumed that this was kind of their way of having you not have to push the image so far. Now if you look at a lot of log images coming out of other cameras, like this Fuji X-T3 for instance, or maybe a Sony a7S III, and you look at their log profiles, they're super flat. Now this can be a good thing and a bad thing depending on how you like to grade and expose your images. So if we look at this Sony a7S III clip for instance, look at this log profile. It is extremely flat and there's basically no contrast in the image at all. Now this can be beneficial if you're trying to have a nice smooth fall off, a nice gradient in your image when it comes to the contrast and color in your image. The only downside of this is if you're not shooting in a high bitrate codec, you have to push your image even further to get that color and contrast back in the image once you get it into post. And that always confused me about Blackmagic's color science because normally I'm shooting in like a 12-bit codec on that camera, maybe 10-bit sometimes, but yet their log profile was never as flat as something like a Sony a7S III. Or actually, if we take some of this footage, this B-RAW footage from the Blackmagic Pocket 6K, and even use a color transform and transform it into Arri Log C, like from an Arri camera, you'll notice that the image gets even flatter. Arri Log C is very flat, just like some of these other log profiles. I think in theory you want a flatter image, that way you have a better gradation of light and color once you start to grade with it. And so that's basically what the Gen 5 color science is. If you take your footage, you throw it in the Davinci Resolve, and then you switch it over to Gen 5, you should get a much flatter profile to work with when you're starting to grade. So for a lot of people that are coming from other log profiles, maybe the Blackmagic was hard to use, but now you can get even flatter profile to work with, and it might be more user-friendly for you if you're not used to working with Blackmagic's color science. So I've talked to some other people about this, and they've kind of tried out the Gen 5. Patrick Tomasso's tried that out a lot. He basically only uses the Pocket 4K if he can use Gen 5, so he basically won't use ProRes on that camera at all. And this is coming from someone that basically only shoots 8-bit locked-in profiles on other cameras, but he says he really likes the Gen 5 color science on the Pocket 4K. So there's something to be said about that maybe that color science does make the Pocket 4K look even better, because we all know that I've talked about on the channel before, there is a little bit, there's something off with the Pocket 4K color. It can look really nice with the right color grade put on it, with some finessing, it can look really nice. But right out of the box, for some reason, it's a little warm, the reds are a little too intense, and there's something just a little bit off about it. Probably a little bit of infrared pollution going on there as well. But with the Gen 5, it kind of unlocks that color for you and makes it a lot easier to grade. But like I said before, this could be a downside for you, because if you look at grading something like this Sony a7S III footage, when I go to add like one of my LUTs that I made for the Pocket 6K or something like that to the a7S III, I have to add a lot more contrast back into that image to get that color back and to get the contrast back to make it look basically normal, right? It's just so flat that you have to do a lot to the image to get it there. And so that's something else you have to think about when you're grading in the Gen 5. Now for me, it's not that big of a deal. You can simply just grab the contrast slider and up the contrast and you're basically gonna get back in the same realm. Or you can do your own contrast curve as you want. You can change the shadows and highlights however you want, however you please to get that kind of look back. But it might look a little bit more pleasant for you because you have a nice longer gradation of the image. Now the other downside to using Gen 5 as your color space going forward is that right now, currently, as I'm making this video, the Gen 5 is not a color profile that is built into your camera. So basically the image that you're seeing on the back of the screen is going to be Gen 4 color when you're shooting. So you have to basically shoot with Gen 4 and then later you can convert it, pop it over to Gen 5 once you get it in the computer. So that's something you need to know if you like make a LUT and you want to throw it on the monitor and you want to use that out in the field. Make sure that you're using the Gen 4 when you make that because you're not going to see that Gen 5 on your camera. But hopefully coming soon, Blackmagic will add these features to our cameras and so we can have the Generation 5 color profile on our cameras. So let's take a quick break to talk about today's sponsor, which is Squarespace. Now, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to present your work online. If you've never built a website before, Squarespace makes it super easy to use one of their pre-existing templates to build your website, or you can simply build it on your own using all their amazing customizable tools that they already have built into Squarespace. And then something that's pretty awesome too, as someone that's a freelance filmmaker like me, is actually this back-end optimization. You can see how your website might appear like on Google or something like that, and see basically what words are coming up if people are searching for a filmmaker in your area. So if you're anything like me and you need to present your work online, well, do that using Squarespace. Click the link in the description to get 10% off, and I want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Now, according to Blackmagic Design's website, this should give you the most accurate skin tones, and it should basically make your color better. They're advertising it as a 12-bit profile that makes your skin look really nice, and that's something that we all want probably from an image. So from what I can tell, it's not like this is a whole new color science to pull out of the camera. I'm pretty sure this is basically just taking the Gen 4 and stretching it out, making it a little bit flatter, kind of moving things around just to make it more pleasant to your eyes. So just remember that going forward. It's not like totally transforming your camera, but it's definitely going to pull a little bit more out of the camera that you did not have before, which I really appreciate that Blackmagic does that. They add features like this even though the cameras are kind of old, and that's pretty awesome on Blackmagic to do. So this is just a quick video. I just wanted to point out this kind of fun feature that maybe a lot of people aren't using, and I'm not sure if this is available in Premiere. I don't use Adobe Premiere, I just use Davinci Resolve anyways, but it's a feature that you can just, with a click of a switch, you can switch over in Davinci Resolve and change all your footage to Gen 5. Now if you don't use Resolve and you can't use it in other programs, you can simply just convert everything to Gen 5, export that into a ProRes or something like that so you can edit that in another NLE of choice. So I thought I would just mention this to you guys. It's just a feature that I've been playing with a little bit recently. Maybe it can unlock some of your footage for you, make it look even more pleasing to your eye. And like I said, it works on all the Blackmagic cameras that can shoot B-RAW. So that's like the Pocket 4K, Pocket 6K, and then obviously like the Ursa Mini Pro Generation 2 and Gen 1. Well, I hope that was a helpful tip for you guys. If you like this, obviously give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. And then coming up soon, we're gonna be talking about the Panasonic S5. I tried to shoot on it today and just was having some issues, but I have played a little bit now with the ProRes RAW function coming out of the camera, and it looks really nice. I'm really intrigued by it, especially for a camera that's only $2,000. Yeah, the Ninja 5 does cost around $500 to $600 to add that to the kit, but a 12-bit full frame camera with 13-ish stop of dynamic range really has me intrigued, so we are going to be testing that out more on the channel here soon. So until next time guys, I'm Mr. Sakurai, see ya.